Oh, this guy.
Discussion about the Middle East. This time with a guy named Destiny. And these two guys are out there trying to solve the problems of the Middle East. You know, two white guys with no skin in the game, and none of them are either Muslim or Jewish. And I think this guy Destiny, as I understand from Wikipedia, is famous for live streaming video games, which is great, but I'm not sure exactly he's a candidate for solving the problems of the Middle East. Let's hear these two guys complain that things are not yet solved and seem intractable.
On the wider point, I kind of agree. I've had so many of these debates about Israel. It's very hard to do anything that doesn't immediately get dragged to the extremities in terms of the debate. Very hard to reach any point of consensus. You know, and I find that that's the dispiriting thing about that debate, and it may explain why the whole conflict in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine has been going 75 years and appears so completely intractable. Nobody gives an inch.
But you, Pierce, you're going to go into that Hamas rhetoric and be like, yeah, the conflict's intractable, Israel's always a problem, this and that. No, we were on the way to looking past the conflict and talking about a thriving Middle East.
My dude, this is the longest occupation of any territory, literally in the history of all of the fucking world, I think. Yeah, we were. How close are we today to some kind of resolution or peace deal? Doesn't seem like there's one, but maybe he's gonna drop some big knowledge bombs on me. We'll see.
One that has a strong economy and strong tourism that was on the way, and it's still on the way. So do me a favor, don't be dispirited. Be excited for us.
You aren't going to look into the Rafah incident, or do you think all of the new Israeli atrocities are basically all the same story? I mean, I've looked into it a little bit, but now we just have to wait for more information. It sounds like I don't know if this has been verified or confirmed from anybody yet, but it sounds like what happened was there was a munition that was weaponiered for a precise hit of two Hamas commanders. It was outside the safe zone. I think that's been confirmed. And then the attack went off. It worked fine. They got hit. They got killed. But apparently, or supposedly, there was a Jeep nearby that had a fuck ton of ammunition or munitions stored, which they're not supposed to have, but they did. And then apparently that exploded and then set a whole bunch of tents and shit on fire, and 50 some people died or whatever. That's my understanding, is that is what the rough story is right now. But I think we need more information. I don't know if we'll get more information, but I think that's about where we're at right now, I think.
And for the world that Jerusalem is back online. And don't think that the conflict is intractable. There's a lot of stuff that's moving forward. So let's see what else these guys are thinking, these two problem solvers.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's on the ground in Israel-Palestine, you have that issue where both sides have basically their myths that Israel fashioned themselves as these poor people, these poor Jews that wandered into the Middle East and had to fight these impossibly huge Arab armies that had domineering and overwhelming force and power and coordination. When in reality, post-48, Israel was always in a decent position to fight, and that was pretty obvious.
Yeah. You see, no, I gotta correct you here, Destiny, on a few things.
If you want to correct me, in the very, very late portion of 47 and in the early portion of 48, it looked a bit rough. But past that, Israel's military composition, ability to conduct war has obviously and always been vastly superior to its Arab neighbors. That doesn't necessarily mean that it was a foregone conclusion that they would win any of the wars that they were involved in. But you said post 48? Oh, that's good. Okay.
We didn't wander into the Middle East. We're a Middle Eastern people. Our forefather Abraham, 3,500 years ago, was from Iraq.
Already don't care.
Area, and then lower Turkey, Assyria area, and that's where we're really from. Our people has been here for the last 3,500 years. You kind of want to get that straight. And when we were starting that first war in 1948, we had barely 600,000 people living in this land, and we were fighting massive Arab armies. So so it's not a myth. We are from the Middle East, and yes, we were outgunned, and thank God we defeated our enemies. But yeah, that language of myth is a little bit irksome. Let's keep going with Destiny. He's got some Destiny words.
I mean, we're bringing up you literally are invoking religion. So yeah, I am going to stick with the word myth there. But
there's some destinations for us.
Performance in 48, in 67, in 73. It was pretty obvious that they had the military capability to survive. But then on the other hand, you get the Palestinian narrative of they were a poor, dispossessed people in their lands who only ever wanted peace. I think I saw a tweet saying we welcomed Israelis with open arms. That's absolutely not true. I think that the on the ground narratives contribute to the conflict feeling intractable.
Okay, yeah, the Palestinian narrative.
Oh God, I hate it when people do this. Oh God, this reminds me of how Finkelstein will quote scholars when somebody will listen to me kind of represent both sides of an issue, and they're like, oh, actually, yeah, wow, he's super correct when he's on my side, but man, on the other side, he's just really wrong on all of it. God, it drives me fucking crazy. Maybe he's not gonna do that. I'm sorry. He might have things to say for both. My bad.
Those contribute to the conflict feeling intractable.
Okay, yeah, the Palestinian narrative is not, that they welcomed us with open arms, but I think you could have gone one step further, Mr. Destiny. Should I call you Mr. Destiny, or did you go to Destiny school? So maybe Dr. Destiny. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I want to say that there was another narrative which was out there. Not only did they not welcome us with open arms, there was the let's finish up Hitler's work narrative, or we will destroy you and drink coffee in Tel Aviv, and there will be no more Jewish Tel Aviv, and we'll take it over. So there was these other, let's say, genocidal narratives that Dr. Destiny forgot to mention there. Those are important.
But unfortunately,
those might have been an undercurrent, but genocidal, I don't know if the Arabs would have necessarily genocided all the Jews there. They definitely didn't want them to have any kind of state whatsoever. They definitely wanted to destroy their ability to gain international support for establishing like an independent Jewish state for sure. Would they have genocided them? I don't know. Maybe a little bit. Not all the way. I don't think so. But I could be wrong on that. Definitely a concern, though, especially after the Holocaust. I can see why people might be concerned about that. It's a fair concern to have.
I think internationally, I think we feed into the intractability as well, because people are that conflict is so perfect for everybody to have a really strong opinion. You've got brown people and white people, you've got Jews and Muslims, you've got oppressed and oppressors, you've got Western colonial and Middle Eastern countries. Like everybody can have an opinion about this conflict because of the different parties involved. And people are so not level-headed when it comes to evaluating what's going on that they end up hyping up both sides and they elevate the expectations to unrealistic levels, which means neither side is really willing to actually settle for a realistic resolution that might make both sides feel a little bit good and a little bit unhappy.
Well, first thing, that there was some smartness there, a little bit. Destiny's words about the fact that everybody wants a piece of this story and this fight and this narrative. I think there's a truth to that. I think there's everybody can line up in some political way that comports with their local politics and their country's politics, and then they kind of project it onto what's happening here. I can hear that. But then at the end, there's this language of concession, of like, because of this.
So I hope he gives a good answer here. That supports my understanding. One of the big things that a lot of people complain about, I think I've seen Balin complain about this. Obviously, Shlomo Ben Ami has complained about this. Olmert has complained about this. I've watched some interviews talk about this. Is Israelis don't realize that whatever peace looks like is probably going to be painful. That might mean a big retraction of some of the settlement population. That might mean giving up more land than they would otherwise want to if they want to keep some of the settlement blocks. But whatever it is, it's not going to feel good. It's going to be painful. And the Palestinians obviously have to be ready for some amount of pain as well, whether that means, what the big one is the refugee thing. All those refugees are not coming back, they're not coming back to Israel. Absolutely not. And then some negotiation on holy sites that might not feel good. Like, I don't know if there's ever going to be a final resolution to this conflict that has every Jew expelled from East Jerusalem. It's probably not going to happen. But my understanding is East Jerusalem and the refugee thing are two really big ones for the sticking points here. But we'll see, yeah. But I'm curious if he's going to talk about, well, actually, I'm going to tell you why Jews don't have to give up a single fucking thing for what we want to happen with Israel.
I can hear that. But then at the end, there's this language of concession, of like, because of this extremity, then nobody's willing to come to compromise. Well, victory is not always about compromise. And I think Israel is like not in a place to compromise because it's tiny, because it's a tiny country in this region. And there's nothing to compromise about. When we compromise on our land, we compromise on our life. When we compromise on our land, we compromise on our identity. When we succumb to the jihad, there's really no place to go. Here we are. We compromise it. Here, Israel compromise on Gaza. We gave Gaza away, and we compromised our security. Therefore, and so yeah. When you're a tiny little ethnic minority and armed,
something that I really want to grill Balin, Ben Ami, and Olmert on is Sharon's unilateral disengagement from Gaza. It just seems like, in retrospect, such a not good idea. I'm so curious what the feeling was at the time for that, or if they thought that was a mistake, or if that could have been done better, or what the fuck. Yeah.
The ethnic minority in this region, there really isn't much room to compromise. It's true. But again, one of the things that Destiny misses is that it's not just Palestine Israel, it's Arab world Israel, of course, except for those countries.
That's not true anymore, though. Now it's just Palestine Israel. It used to be Arab Israel, which I agree, and I bring that up a lot. You need to calm the fuck down. You just want to go in, and then you want to go out, okay? You're a terrorist. You're being a terrorist right now. Honey. If you go in there, you're just going to come out immediately. Oh, my God. Okay, you do that. Fine. Fuck you. He's being a terrorist.
That are now post-jihad and into normalization, the Abraham Accords countries, and may God make it that, bless us, that more will come. Let's get back to Pierce and Destiny.
What do you think a realistic resolution looks like?
I think it's a
Oh God, my feelings on what a resolution looks like changes over time so much. What do I say here? It's about to be super retarded.
multifaceted.
What?
Pierce is asking Destiny, the video game broadcaster, what the realistic solution is for the Middle East. Okay, let's keep going.
Thing, but I would say that it has to be some kind of two-state solution, and both sides need to be willing to negotiate for peace. And this is the hard one: both sides probably need to be willing to sacrifice a little bit for peace.
So great. Like, you think, right, that there's an opportunity for people like Destiny to be a little bit creative. Be like, we've hit our head against the wall for 50 years now, talking about the same junk. And you think that a guy that's sitting out wherever he's sitting with that gun in the background there, you think he'd be like, maybe actually we should change some of the parameters here. Nope. No, thanks. I'm just going to say the same old tired line. Really, here's a moment of total failure of imagination. Mr. Destiny, you should read my article in New York Times about 5 alternatives to the two-state solution. But really, it's like there they are, Pierce and Destiny, and they're thinking, and they're like, well, we're just going to say the most cookie cutter thing ever. We're just going to say exactly what has always been said. We're not going to break out of any box. I'm just, and then we'll compromise. We'll take time.
This is... Oh my God. I don't know if I've ever had this happen to me before my entire fucking life. I just realized this. It just like scratched a very unique part of my brain. Okay. So this guy's angry at me. He's being slightly fiery. Okay. But he's giving a pointed criticism to what I'm saying without just like calling me a gamer, loser, wiki warrior, motor mouth. Interesting. I don't know how much further we get into solutions here. But I understand his criticism here. Like, oh, wow, your solution is a two-state solution where both sides negotiate. Congratulations. Like, that's what people have been saying for 80 years. Clearly hasn't worked so far. That's fair, right? Hey, man, have you considered writing a book? Your perspectives on politics are often counter to mainstream normie intuitions, yet impactful. Another form of political engagement aside from canvassing. Yeah, bro, it's coming out tomorrow. It's called DGG. How the Taliban has changed my... I don't know. I don't think it's something better.
And Israel cut it up. What?
To be fair, he called you a video game streamer with an undertone. I disagree. He pointed out that like I'm like a gamer dude, and that like what is his qualification for talking about this, which is fair, but it's not just. But then this, I don't know how to explain this to you guys. This criticism of here, the criticism that he's giving me here is a stealth compliment. Is a like, you can do better than this. Think about something better. Wow, this is your creative solution. I don't know how to explain it or put it into words, but there's a difference between this type of criticism versus like, oh, of course the video game fucking retard can't think of a single fucking thing because he's a fucking video game retard, blah, 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 blah. Like he brought up that I hate video games, which is fair. That is my background, right? And it is kind of curious, like, well, why would a video game? But he's not using that to write me off or whatever. He's critically engaging at least with what I'm saying, which I appreciate.
Always been said. We're not going to break out of any box. I'm just, and then
he just said, check out my article in the New York Times instead of giving a better solution, unless I missed that between all the pausing. Well, if he's literally written full articles on this, I think it's fair to point that out. I don't know if he wants to do a 15.5-minute video where 7 minutes. I think he's also, David put this in here as well, that he's like a fan of that Emirati solution where you've got like 12 different enclaves of like Palestinian autonomy or whatever. So.
Ever. We're just going to say exactly what has always been said. We're not going to break out of any box. I'm just, and then we'll compromise. We'll take tiny Israel, cut it up. Why don't you tell Taiwan that the best way to make peace with China is to cut Taiwan in half and give half to China? And I'm sure they'll be ameliorated and appreciate the willingness to compromise, and there'll be peace. It's just like, that's so dumb. And I'm just like, this moment is like the disappointment moment. It's like, really, bro? You couldn't come up with something different? Well, what are you going to do? Let's keep going.
That means that not every Palestinian is going to be happy with the final resolution. It means that Abbas might have to suffer, even more loss of his popularity, or whatever Palestinian leader rises might have to suffer more loss of popularity. It might mean on the Israeli side, similar to Begin or Rabin, negotiators for peace in the past, you might have to pay a political price for being a negotiator for peace, because sometimes the Israeli people or your Knesset doesn't always support you when you're negotiating peace against either Arab states or Palestinians. But the leadership has to be there, that has to be willing to suffer a setback or some loss initially for the peace agreement, and then both people need to have some kind of tolerance to say, hey.
I don't know if I glaze Israel at the end here, but historically, Israel has had brave leaders that have been willing to come up and suffer huge political setbacks every single time. It feels like every single time Israeli leadership is trying to negotiate for peace, their back is politically against the wall. And I don't think the Palestinian leadership has ever been willing to do that, which is like one of the huge pain points of these negotiations. I don't know if I bring that up or not here, though.
Listen, we might not get everything we want on the old city. That applies to Jews and Muslims, or that applies to Israelis and Palestinians. Or, hey, we might have to do a lot of land swaps in the West Bank. Hey, all of these settlements that are outside of directly near the Green Line, maybe these do need to be torn down. But yeah, the conversation.
He's a big settlement guy. He's not going to like that.
Start the conversation on it yet, because people don't even know if Hamas should exist or not, or if Israel has a right to defend itself, or if maybe murdering 1,200 civilians is a reasonable response to the supposed concentration camp conditions that exist in Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, you did it.
Okay, I mean, chirp, chirp, chirp. It's like, okay, like.
Fuck this guy. I changed my mind. Did you just use the chirp? Did you chirp? Did he use the chirp at me? Did he just call me a chirper?
Everybody's got to compromise, and should Hamas exist is the same level as should Israel exist. How about this? Destiny. Check this out.
Oh, so he's happy that I'm criticizing people that are saying like, well, should Hamas exist? It's like, oh, so you think it's the same as should Israel exist? I'm just trying to illustrate that like the conversation is ridiculous right now. But
here's a peace proposal. Israel is Jewish native land, tribal lands, and the Jews should live in their historic homeland.
I appreciate the way you interpret this critiques, even if they would feel antagonistic to people. Did you hear Wicked Screams talk with Jessica last night about your behavior? Uh-oh. No, I didn't. Somebody linked the VOD. I don't care. It's hard to make people understand this. And also I understand why people don't believe this. I don't mind it if people are like mean at me when they're making criticisms. As long as like the criticisms are like substantive. I think I've said this before. People might think I'm joking, but like if you say some shit like Destiny's like fucking retarded, the idea that Jews are worried that they would have been killed by Arabs in the '67 war, like you can literally look at the leaked cables between XYZ leaders. You can literally look at this, blah blah blah. Like his opinion here is like fucking so stupid. I'm like, oh okay, that's sure, right? Now you're insulting me. We might go back and fight a little on that, but like you're giving me something to like think about at least. But usually it's just like Divorcelli, the wiki warrior, has like a dick that's so huge that I can't even see past it, and it's intimidating me, so I'm just gonna make fun of him. And it's like, okay, well, there's nothing here. Yeah. I don't mind if people are a little bit mean or whatever, or spicy. I think that's fine.
Israel is Jewish native land, tribal lands, and the Jews should live in their historic homeland, and that should be called Israel. And surrounding that should be Arab countries.
This thought, this opinion that, from what I understand, became more pervasive after '67. This is the cancer that needs to rot in Israel, or it's rotting the country and it needs to be cut. This idea of like historic homeland is so damaging and dangerous.
And the Jews should live in their historic homeland, and that should be called Israel. And surrounding that should be Arab countries.
When people say historic homeland as a settler, they're always saying Judea and Samaria, and they're talking about the West Bank. That's what that means. Whenever you hear somebody say historic homeland, that's what they're talking about. Would you ever talk to this guy on stream? I think this guy is going to be the one that gives me the Hebron Jewish tour on the Jewish side of things. This is going to be the guy. I'm pretty sure that's almost confirmed at this point. I think we're in an email chain now, figuring it out, yeah. Why is it damaging and dangerous? Because when you're separating out the, when you're trying to separate out like the what's right, what's legal, what's like historically accurate, and when I say historic, I mean going back 100 years, and now you've brought in a group of people who are like, well, 3,000 years ago, you're fucked. The religious, the messianic hallucinations, I've seen this referred to a few times, the Jerusalem Jew who is like obsessively looking eastward towards like these historic lands is a huge danger towards, if the Palestinians, if any final settlement is going to involve them having any of that land, these people are like some of your biggest threats. Charlie, what do you want? You've been on the stream so much. I can't talk to you about everything in your life. Okay, let me finish this. I'll drag you up. Stop spamming my chat. Jesus.
Lands, and the Jews should live in their historic homeland, and that should be called Israel. And surrounding that should be Arab countries with Arabic names of their tribal and ancestral land, and they should be there. And then we should work in concert for a better future for this whole region, what I call the Abrahamic region. Okay? See, wasn't that so much more interesting than this blah, blah, blah? Everybody should compromise. Everybody's going to be a little bit sad, and you'll give up on Jerusalem and give part of it to the jihad because the Hamas has a right to exist, blah, blah, blah. And the leaders will all take a hit, and everybody will feel happy because there's Western compromise. It's so tired. I was just like, really, I was just like, to make this video, I had to watch this thing. I was just like, oh, God almighty. When are we going to be done with this fuddy-duddy old stuff that has never worked, will never work, has no understanding of how the Middle East is? You don't make peace on land. You don't give away land in the Middle East. No tribe is like, you know what, yeah, I'll give you half.
That's literally, see, the fact that Israel's unwilling to do this, you do have to give away land in the Middle East. Land for peace is how Israel has found peace, is how they were looking for after the Six-Day War. They were willing to give it up for, they were willing to give it back to Syria, the Golan Heights for peace, and Syria wouldn't do it. They were willing to give back the Sinai to Egypt. They did do it. They got peace. Like land for peace, especially conquered land, is kind of like, at least for Israel's MO for operating with other people, has kind of been what was on the table historically. Now with 500,000 fucking settlers living there, it's a lot different, but
my properties, we could have peace. It doesn't work that way. You show your utter ignorance of Middle Eastern culture and style if you think that the way to work it out is by giving some of the land to the jihad. It don't work that way. You want to know how it works? You hold on strong. You hold the line. You get respect.
This was the thought leading from 67 to 73, arguably, that led to the disaster that were the early days of the, I've heard so many Jews give me shit on how to say this now, back and forth, Yom Kippur or Yom Kippur, whatever, that war, the beginning of that was this idea of like, well, actually, we don't need to give anything away. We're going to infinitely fight everybody and win, and no matter what, and yeah.
You give respect, you get respect, okay? We are a small ethnic, Israel is a small ethnic minority, armed and defended to make sure that nobody kicks us off our tribal lands. And when we're strong, then and our economy strong and our army strong, we push back on the jihad, the other Arab countries thank us. And then we can get rid of the bad guys and start having trade and having
the bad guys
and having tourism, and not this dumb idea that maybe we should just give away parts. Let the jihad take over it like they did in Gaza, and then compromise because that's so beautiful. I don't know. It's just tiring to see these two non-Middle East, non-Jewish, non-Muslim white guys discussing how we should compromise around here, not knowing one thing about how this region operates. But you know, it's destiny, I guess.
Debate with Jake Yuga, who's been on this show many times. In it, you said about deaths in Gaza that the ratio of Hamas to civilians killed were good ratios. But I'm
I'm so used to people just saying unhinged shit about me. I'm even appreciative that the way that he writes off my opinion is to say that like these are two random white dudes from another part of the world who don't have a personal investment here, blah, blah, blah. Even that feels better than like, isn't this guy a cuck? Isn't this guy divorced permanently?
You said about deaths in Gaza that the ratio of Hamas to civilians killed were good ratios. But I'm not sure about that. I'll tell you why. The problem I have with the whole death rate in Gaza, especially when there's a comparison made to World War II and how many German civilians were killed and so on, is that there is a unique population in Gaza of 50% children. Now, 50% of the 2 million are under 18. That's 1 million kids running around in Gaza. And already we've seen 30,000 civilians killed with 70,000 more wounded, many of whom are children. And that is something I've not seen in any recent conflict. And that's what makes it uniquely horrific to people.
Okay, so first thing is, we don't trust Hamas numbers. That's just the thing. The so-called Palestinian causes lie. They lie about numbers all the time. That's number one. Number two.
I'm sorry, the quote was divorced all the time. True.
So many children, maybe they shouldn't line the place with rockets and teach brainwash to murder and to rape. Like if there's so many children, then maybe they shouldn't use them as human shields to start up with us and to try to kill our children. And I have one message that I want to make clear. When we strike Gaza, we have a little message, which is don't start with us.
Okay, sorry, we're correct. Jesus.
Don't start with us. We will mess you up. We will fight back. We will push back. We will make a war against you. Now you're going to say, Piers Morgan's concerned about the children. Yeah, were you concerned about the children when they were brainwashing them?
Wicked Supreme, did you see that Destiny said he'd never talk to you again because of what you said on Gisticle? That's not true. Why are you starting memes? Wait, what was even... Hold on, now I want to watch this Gisticle VOD. What happened?
To kill? Were you so concerned about the children when in Syria, 500,000 people were murdered and almost 2 million displaced? Come on, Piers. It's not real. You're so...
Bro, these are my talking points. Excuse me? Did he pre-watch?
Children when they were brainwashing them to kill? Were you so concerned about the children when in Syria, 500,000 people were murdered and almost 2 million displaced? Come on, Piers. It's not real. You're so concerned about the children. Are you so concerned about the children, Piers, that you're making sure that refugees get out? Is there any American or British boat, French boat right there picking up the children so that we can have our war and get rid of the bad guys? Are you pushing to pick up the kids out of there? No, you're not. What you're really doing, Piers, is that you are making those children that you're arguing about a human shield against Israel pushing back.
Oh my God, he's not going to play my answer because he bit my whole answer here and then he's going to end the fucking video. That's what he's about to do.
Fighting the terrorists and fighting the jihad and fighting the Hamas. You are with your words, are putting those kids as more important than our war to clean out the nests of terror that not only attack Israel, but also subdue local Arabs and destroy their lives, take their children, brainwash them, steal their money, take their land, put tunnels underneath. So when you talk about those children, you are actually aiding and abetting, probably not intentionally, but you are aiding and abetting the enemy. Okay, so I hope you guys understand that Piers and Destiny really do not have solutions. The video keeps going, but I think I'm going to pause it now here because I think I've had enough personally. In any case, Yishai Fleisher TV is here to serve you and help us understand how to actually move things forward and not hear old fuddy-duddy messaging that gets us nowhere because it's like hitting our head against the brick wall again and again and again. And so I hope that you subscribe
Did you
here.
say fuddy-duddy?
TV, where the real destiny is moving forward, the Jewish people in the land of Israel. God bless you guys, and shalom.
Oh, this is what I need. Ground me out. Thank you. As for Destiny, he continues to embarrass himself every time he pretends to know anything about the Middle East conflict and history. Listen to the debate between Simcha Rothman, hoping it was an eye-opener for Destiny because Destiny could hardly say anything, and when he did, his answers were not relevant to Simcha's points. Simcha won the debate hands down with factual evidence that Destiny became lost in due to his lack of subject knowledge. This was one where I didn't know how to, because this guy would just like flatly deny that there's a blockade. There is no blockade in Gaza. I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean blockade? There are no ships there, or I don't even know what is. This guy that I debated on Eli's channel. That was a good meme debate, I guess. Yeah. I think Destiny would benefit greatly from having a discussion with you. From what I've seen, he seems to generally want to learn the truth and would be great for his audience to hear your perspective. He's cared too much about feelings and less about fact. Damn. This couldn't be farther from the truth. Wait, hold on. Oh, he's replying to this guy. Okay. You cleared the clouds of nonsense and pompous fluff. Cleared the clouds. I wonder how many cool sayings or expressions exist in other languages that we just don't know because we're English. When's your next Piers appearance? I don't know. We don't have anything planned right now.